Syntax of the adjective, predicate. In the last module, we looked at the attributive adjective, the adjective that modifies a noun, tells you something about it, without a verb. And now we're going to look at the predicate. What is a predicate? Let's just review that briefly, or predicate adjectives. In English, we have predicate adjectives and predicate nouns, and they're slightly different. Let's look at a couple of English sentences here. The building is a school versus the building is large. Here we have two sentences. The bits that are different are on the end here. The building is a school. The building here is a subject in both of them. We have a linking verb, is. In Hebrew, we'll see that this will be implied. You won't actually see it written out. And then we have this thing following it. Now this here is a predicate noun, and this is a predicate adjective. Predicate noun, predicate adjective. And what a predicate noun does is it renames the building. The building is a school. School is another name for that particular building. While this one, the predicate adjective, describes the building. The building is large. So it's this one that we want to deal with here. So English has predicate adjectives as well. I just notify you about predicate nouns so you don't get confused with those. How does this function in Hebrew? Well, our adjectives can play this role as well. So let's look at that. The rules are that a predicate adjective agrees with the noun in gender and number. Notice there's nothing here about definite status. With the attributive, we had the third agreement had to be with definite status. They had to both be definite or both indefinite. With the predicate, it doesn't say anything about that, so it could be or it may not be. Normally, the predicate adjective precedes the noun, unlike the attributive, which normally follows the noun. And lastly, the predicate adjective cannot have an article. So the adjective itself can't have an article. With the attributive, you can have an article. If the noun has an article, then the adjective will have an article to match. Or if the noun is definite, the adjective will have an article. Well, let's look at an example. Usually these things really only make sense when you see them in examples. Tov HaMelech. Oh, I'm going to run a room here. HaMelech. And just to give ourselves some breathing space here. Okay. Let's try our little rules here. Gender and number. Do they agree in gender? Well, Tov is our base form, no endings, so we know we have a masculine. Melech, this is masculine noun, and it's not plural. So they're both masculine. Number, well, I just said it's not plural, and this isn't plural either, so it's masculine singular. And in fact, this one does not agree in definite status. This has the hey, and this doesn't. So this could not be an attributive adjective. This couldn't be. Because if it was attributive, it would have to agree in definite status. And so if you have HaMelech, you'd have to have HaTov. So the definite status doesn't tell us that it's definitely predicate, excuse the pun, but it does tell us it can't be attributive. And then we check the second point here. Normally the predicate adjective precedes the noun. In fact, it does here, so that's normal. And there's no article on it either, so there's no reason to think it wouldn't be a predicate, especially without a context. So, how would you translate this? Tov HaMelech. It's not the good king. That's how you translate it if it was attributive. Instead, it is literally good is the king. And you would imply your verb here, the verb to be. So in English, in good English, you'd say the king is good. Literally, good is the king. So with predicate adjectives, expect them to be before, especially at the beginning of a sentence. If you see an adjective starting a sentence followed by a noun, more than likely that noun is the subject, and this is the predicate adjective to that subject, and so you would read it, good is the king, or the king is good. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Tovot Hanashim. Okay. So, does it agree in gender and number? Nashim, we know, is women, and tovot, well, this is feminine, and this is feminine even though it looks like it isn't. This is one of those gender flip words, but women are certainly feminine, so we agree in gender. Number, im and ot, both plural, so that's fine. And definite status, well, we have hanashim, so this is definite, and this doesn't have an article, so it's not definite, so it does not agree. Again, that doesn't tell us, doesn't agree in definite status, it doesn't tell us it's predicate, but it tells us it's not attributive. And tovot, the adjective precedes the noun, so that would lend credence to it being a predicate. And there's no article on it, so all the conditions are satisfied. So I'd say we have a predicate adjective. Tovot hanashim, and you would translate this. Good are, again, supply your implied verb when you speak in English. Tovot, good are the women. The women are good. Okay, what about this example here? Tov hamelach. Let's run through our rules again. Gender and number. Do they agree in gender and number? Well, tov is masculine, there's no ending. Melech is a masculine noun, and there's no ending there, so they're both masculine. That's gender. What about number? No ending, so we know we have masculine singular, and we don't have im on here, and we don't have ayim or something to make it dual, so we know they are agreed in number. They're both singular, masculine singular. What about definite status? Well, no article, no article. So they're both indefinite. Indefinite. So, is this a predicate adjective, or is this an attributive adjective? It could be attributive, couldn't it? Because it agrees in gender, number, and definite status. Remember, our rules for predicate, they say it must agree in gender and number. It makes no comment. No comment about predicate, or about definite status. So, predicate adjectives can agree in definite status. They don't have to. It doesn't matter. So this could also be predicate. It could be good is a king. In other words, a king is good. That would be predicate. Or if it were attributive, you would read it a good king. Now context is what's going to tell you which way this goes. Right now we have no context. We just have two words in isolation. If this is all we had, I would lean towards predicate because the adjective is preceding the noun, which is normal for predicate, while with attributive, normally the adjective follows the noun. It would be over here. But in a sentence, though, you would know the context of the rest of the words. These two words in context with the rest of them will tell you which way to go on that. Now, what would happen if we put hey here? So let's make this definite. Tov hamelech. Could this be attributive? Well, now this is definite and this isn't. So we know it cannot be attributive. If they do not agree in definite status, then you cannot have an attributive adjective. In fact, you would have a predicate and your ambiguity would be gone. It would not be ambiguous. So let's take this off. What about, let me get this off here. Okay. What about if we put the hey here? Hatov melech. What would that be? Well, we know they agree in gender and number. We already discovered that. They would not agree in definite status. So it's not indefinite. This would be definite. This is indefinite. So it can't be attributive. We know that. Just as the case where this is definite and this isn't. What about predicate? Could this be predicate? We know it can't be attributive, but can it be predicate? Because predicate doesn't say anything about definite status, right? But predicate does say something. One more rule says there can be no article on the adjective. Here, the adjective has the article, so it can't be a predicate either. So it's not attributive, it's not predicate. I don't know whether you would find this in Hebrew, back to back like this. If you did, this would probably be a substantive, which is what we're going to deal with in the next module, but you'd have to look at the greater context here. And maybe you wouldn't have this combination, I'm not sure. I just point this out here so that we are reminded that a predicate adjective can never have the article. So, if it has the article, you can rule out predicate. Okay, I guess by way of summary here, predicate adjectives agree in gender and number, but unlike attributives, say nothing about definite status. They normally precede the noun, unlike attributives which tend to follow the noun. And the last important little rule here, small one but important, is that predicate adjectives cannot take the article.